every day is a different day. When I come to work, I mean, I have an agenda, I have a schedule, but you never know what's going to come through the DA's office because we have so many files, there are so many arrests, there are so many unique cases, and they're difficult cases. You know, we have to make the decisions. We're the gatekeeper for the criminal justice system, so we have to determine what goes forward and what doesn't. And some of those are hard decisions. It's not easy and it's not fun having to prosecute some of the people that I don't want to prosecute. So I don't watch CSI when I go home. I don't watch Dateline. My wife loves to watch all that, so I do that all day. You know, I want to watch The Price is Right and Wheel of Fortune and that kind of stuff because I don't deal. But she's a school teacher, so when we get home, she wants to tell me all about her day, and by the time she tells me about it, I don't have time to tell her.
Smart man.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Haitian Kings Podcast. We did it again. Today we got somebody special. The whole goal of this podcast is bringing people in the community. And I don't know how many times I say it, but this time we got the district attorney and the podcast. And without further ado, Mr. Stephen Dwight.
All right. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
And thank you so much for coming to the show.
Sure. Yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Well, like I was kind of telling you earlier off camera, I was like, I'm not really heavy into politics at all, so therefore it's a pleasure for us. And also, we really appreciate you taking the time to coming out here and then pretty much educate us on things that people should know, things that people don't know, or things people might be getting, but might be misguided about. So let's start from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Like, so who's Stephen Dwight? Like your background, where you from? What led you to?
So I'm from here. I'm from Moss Bluff. I was raised here. My kids go to school here. My wife's an elementary school assistant principal in Gillis, which is the north part of the parish. I have a freshman at LSU, a sophomore at Sam Houston High School, and a seventh grader at Moss Bluff Middle School who has this last basketball game tonight. So we're going to hopefully get the win tonight.
Yeah, hopefully we go for the win. But,
yeah.
The thing is, what led you into this politics, like growing up in high school? Like, did you always, let's just say right now, if I go and
So I was always interested in government and politics and civics. When I went to LSU for my undergrad, I worked at the state capitol. I worked for a state senator, Jimmy Cox. He was actually my next door neighbor, gave me my first job feeding his dogs when he would go over to the capitol. And then when I was old enough to actually work, he offered me a job as his intern or page there at the capitol. And that's what I did. When they were in session, I'd go with him and really saw how the laws were made. And that was something I wanted to do ever since that, really. And we were involved in politics. You said you not really involved. No. We were. You know, my dad would volunteer for a lot of campaigns and just help try to get the right person, elected. You need the right person to run for the right reasons. And we did that. We didn't always go with the winner, but we tried to go with the right person. So I would help out in campaigns, walk in neighborhoods, knocking on doors, asking for votes. So I learned how the campaign process worked by being a volunteer.
But what made you go to law school?
That was something I was been interested in since I was little. My dad was a lawyer.
Okay.
My great-grandfather was a lawyer. My grandfather wasn't, but it was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to work with my dad, come back after I graduated law school. I came back and worked with him, and he and I had a practice together. And it was great working with him side by side. That's something that I enjoyed, and really, I hope he did too, but he's retired now, but something I enjoyed going to work every day and working with my dad.
So let me ask you this. I know, so you had a practice, but like when you become DA, so you can no longer practice law no more? I
can, but I don't. I wouldn't have the time to really practice law and focus on the district attorney's office because we're a pretty big agency.
Okay.
I have about 30 attorneys that work for me and a support staff of about 100. So I have close to 130 people that work for me. So I wouldn't have time to represent you in a succession or a car accident or anything like that because I'd be taking my time away from the DA's office. And that's what the people elected me to do. And I want to give my full faith and credit and hours and everything I have to doing that job because that's what I was elected to do.
So therefore, like I'm even though you always wanted it, and like you said, you kind of grew up in politics. So would you call your dad or perhaps Senator Cox, as you said you worked for as a young man? Who would you call a mentor?
Oh, my dad. I ran everything by my dad. Senator Cox gave me my first job in politics, first paid job, I guess. But my dad was a mentor. He's the reason I went to law school. He's what established the work ethic in me. So I would, from a mentor standpoint.
And you say your dad is actually retired right now. I mean, as you said, he was your mentor. Do you find yourself in a position now to where like you still reach out to him for advice?
Oh, sure. Just life, advice in life. I still, I have political decisions I have to make because it's a political office, and he gives great advice. So I reach out to him and numerous people, my friends, my family. Sheriff Mancuso is another mentor that really I relied on a lot when I was early in my legal career and political career. And I still ask him for advice too, even though he's retired.
Yeah, he's recently retired.
So what led you to wanting I know you was practicing law. Then I remember when we had a meeting that you say you end up working for Mancuso.
Mm-hmm.
But what pushed you? What led you to run for the DA's office?
So before I was elected DA, I was elected to the state house, the state representative.
Okay.
So when I worked for Senator Cox, I knew I wanted to do that. So I've been practicing for a little while, and a seat came available in the Moss Bluff area, and I ran for that and won that.
Okay.
So I was the state representative before I became district attorney. So I was doing the legislative side of it.
Okay. But pretty much.
Okay, clearly you're doing something you love. As you said, you were pretty much bred for being a lawyer and following your dad's footsteps. What would you say is your favorite part about the job, and what would you say is your least favorite part about the job?
So my favorite part, every day is a different day. When I come to work, I have an agenda, I have a schedule, but you never know what's going to come through the DA's office because we have so many files, there are so many arrests, there are so many unique cases, and they're difficult cases. We have to make the decisions. We're the gatekeeper for the criminal justice system. So we have to determine what goes forward and what doesn't. And some of those are hard decisions. And it's not easy, and it's not fun having to prosecute some of the people that I don't want to prosecute. But, that's what makes it difficult sometimes.
But as you said, you guys are basically the gatekeeper. You're the one that's got to make sure, okay, this guy, you basically represent the city.
I represent the whole parish.
Basically, yeah. the whole parish. But I know you've been doing this for a while, but because I remember, like I said, then again, I'm an ignorant person. I don't know much about that world. But I remember I saw in a movie, and this guy, I forgot what he did, and the DA was making it, the way the DA wanted that guy to go to jail so bad, it felt like it was personal in a sense. But and even though it wasn't, because that's part of his job, and it's have you ever found yourself in a position like as you said, some people you don't really want to send them to jail, but that's your job to send him there?
So I feel like my job is to achieve justice. And what does justice look like? And justice is not always sending people to jail. Sometimes it is sending people to rehabilitation. I may have someone that is committing crimes and they keep getting arrested, and they're not necessarily a criminal. What they are is they have a drug problem and they're an addict. So we got to fix the underlying problem. And if we fix the underlying problem, the drug problem, then the criminal acts will go away. So I've got to determine, do I have a bad person or do I have a good person making bad decisions? And that's when I'm talking about the gatekeeper. That's where I've got to determine, is rehabilitation better for this person, or is incarceration better for this person? And that's where I talk about being the gatekeeper.
Understood.
But I also being a DA, I know you got a lot of cases that come through your...
Too many. Yeah.
Yes. Tell me, do you have a case that was so challenging when you see it, it was you couldn't believe it?
So the hardest case I've had since I've been district attorney was I go out to all the murder scenes. I try to go out to all the murder scenes. My first murder scene was where I call it the Walmart case, where some little girls stabbed another little girl in the Walmart. So at the time, my daughters were about those girls' age, 12 and 14. And that one hit home a little bit. When you are elected DA, you understand you're going to be dealing with drug dealers and murders involving drugs or domestic violence. I wasn't really ready for my first murder to be a 12-year-old stabbing a 14-year-old in Walmart. And it just, that one was the toughest one because I left, I was barbecuing. I remember the day I was barbecuing. I just lit the barbecue pit, ready to throw some meat on the grill. And I get the alert that there's been a murder and it's at the Walmart. And while I'm over there, I'm getting the details. And I remember thinking, that's my girl's ages. This is what's happening. So it was tough getting to the scene, seeing the girls, not seeing the parents. And, I went home and had a difficult discussion with my girls when I got home. Because it hurt. I wasn't ready for that one.
So since we got the more gruesome one out the way, what was the most funny ones as you come to your desk?
The most petty one.
No, we get funny ones all the time. I have people, somebody's being mean to me on Facebook, so we want them to go to jail. And, it's not illegal to be mean on Facebook, but I had a lady call because a hawk was attacking her dog and wanted to know what I was going to do about that. So, when I say every day is a new day, I try to return all my phone calls, whether it's Joe Blow, because I am their attorney. So I want them to have open access to me. I want them to have an open door policy. So if they call me, they expect a phone call back from the district attorney. So I call them. A lot of times they're surprised that I call them back, but I do. And I try to help them with whatever their issue is, whether our office can do it or whether I can point them in the right direction. But, they elected me into this position, so I want them to know that I'm accessible.
So when they say, like, when you go to court and they say, when you're getting arrested, they say, hey, if you don't have an attorney, so we can provide you one. So they're talking about your guys?
They're talking about the public defender. No.
Oh,
so
okay.
they'll appoint, if you don't have the means to hire an attorney, they'll appoint you an attorney. So you're going to have representation from either the public defender or someone appointed by the courts to represent you and your interests. Because I can't give them advice. I can't give the defendant advice because I'm actually prosecuting them.
Okay.
So I can't tell them what's good or bad, whether they should take an offer, not take an offer.
So every time, like, the cops arrested somebody, so you become, like, I want to say, like, you become the attorney for the legal justice. Is it
so when we make our appearance, I'm Stephen Dwight on behalf of the state of Louisiana.
Okay. So everything that any cops do, so you defending that whatever they arrest you for.
So I'm presenting the facts and the evidence to the judge or to the jury.
So let's say if a case come to you never had a situation where, like, somebody was arrested, but the case come to you and you feel like either, let's say, the cops did something mishandle the whole thing, that you realize before you even get to court, you're like, I don't think this is right.
So we would reject the case.
Okay.
If I feel like the law enforcement agency did something wrong, we would not present that case to the judge or to the jury. We would just reject it for insufficient evidence.
But if that happened, it's just like you don't feel like I'm just trying right now. I'm talking to you, thinking, but in the same sense, if a cop's doing something like this, I'm just saying, do you feel like
if there's a bad cop out there,
yes,
I don't want to bring that case to court.
But did you make a phone call and say, hey, I'm thinking you got one of your officers doing anything?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
yeah. So I will disclose if I find it. We're actually required by case law, if there's a law enforcement officer that has lied before or fudged some documents or some evidence, I have to disclose that to the other party.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So what are some of the biggest misconception people have about the role of a district attorney?
So a lot of people think I'm their attorney for anything, so they call up, hey, are you the district attorney? Yeah. My grandfather died and left me some money. What do I do about that? That's not something we do because we only prosecute the criminal acts that happen within the parish, not the civil acts.
Okay.
So anything like that, a lot of times they think I'm the legal aid that they can call and get legal advice, and I'm not that person. So it's trying to determine or distinguish what my role is as the district attorney. I prosecute the criminal acts that happen within Calcasieu Parish.
But let's say somebody was calling about something like this, It's just like, do you like one of your attorney cannot help with that, or is not something you'll do? If somebody was having any like crazy question, as you said, you don't help. You just say
We'll
contact
usually
them.
point them in the right direction.
Okay.
We'll send them to either the Southwest Louisiana Law Center, but we don't give legal advice for the civil matters. So we'll advise them where they can go get that advice.
Okay.
We don't just leave them hanging and say we don't do that. Sorry.
Okay. So how would you say that the legal landscape has changed in Lake Charles since you took office?
I mean, really, the hurricanes changed a lot. You know, the hurricanes changed a lot. One, everyone was fighting with their insurance companies on the civil side, but also on the criminal side, the jails were really the structure of the jails. I think y'all had Sheriff Guillory on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the jails were really damaged during the hurricane. So when you were arrested after the hurricane in Calcasieu, you actually went to North Louisiana to a facility up there. You weren't here in Southwest Louisiana, which kind of caused a little hiccup in the criminal justice system, because then for us to prosecute them, we'd have to have them bust from North Louisiana down here. Their attorneys haven't had a chance to talk to them because they're up there, not here. So it kind of slowed down the process. The hurricanes, everyone understands it slowed down the insurance claims and everything like that, but also slowed down our criminal justice claims. So we had COVID that we were coming off of, where they didn't have court for 2 years. And then we had the hurricanes. So there was a period of about 2 years where there was no criminal cases happening, but the crimes were still happening. So our case log kept going up because we weren't able to have court, or it was just slower than normal.
So which end up, I'm guessing, people spending more time in jail than they should before they actually get to
Well, or they would figure out alternate sentencing. You know, they would do home incarceration, or they would do stuff like that. They started trying the ankle monitors, stuff like that. So the judges were trying to get creative on what they could do without actually putting them in the correctional center.
Okay.
What are the biggest legal challenges facing Lake Charles right now?
You know, we were starting to see an increase in juvenile crime. You know, and the juvenile crimes are difficult because those are kids that are not fully developed and sometimes just make bad decisions. And you don't want that to affect them the rest of their life. But then you have some very bad juveniles that do some very, very heinous things, I guess. So we were seeing an uptick in juvenile crime. We've seen that level off a little bit. Domestic violence is always hard, because when you have a domestic violence victim, at the time when they're being victimized, they want the person in jail. But once they get in jail, they're realizing, my bills aren't getting paid because he's not going to his job, you know, and they're asking me to actually let him out. So on day one, they want him in jail. Then a couple of weeks later, hey, well, I need him out so I can get my bills paid. And it makes it difficult on us because we go from a hero to a zero real quick. But sometimes I try to do what the victims want, but if this is the third or fourth time, I have to take that into account and just say, hey, I've got to figure out what to do with this person because he keeps recommitting.
Yeah, because
so then I have a victim that's mad at me, and I have a defendant that's mad at me.
Yeah,
I'm making everybody mad.
Yeah, and it's crazy too, because so even though like you might preventing something bad happen in the future, if somebody keep doing that, then eventually maybe the one more time he did it and he probably killed somebody.
Then I'm going to a murder scene.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So it's just a double-edged sword on this one.
On that one, yeah.
But let me ask you this though: as a district attorney, like you said, you got to deal with representing the state, and then sometimes let's just say if you got a juvenile committing a crime compared to a grown adult, and I know the law approach it a different way, but as far as for you personally, how do you approach it?
For juveniles, my first goal is to rehabilitate them. You know, I don't want to see a juvenile incarcerated. I want to figure out a way. Where did we go wrong? How can we help this juvenile get back on that right path? So, you know, we're not prosecuting anyone really under 12 or anything like that. But when you're 17, you're actually in Louisiana, you're in the eyes of the court, you're viewed as an adult at that point. But 17 years old, you're being prosecuted. You can go to what I call big boy jail. And a 17-year-old in there with a 35, 40-year-old man, you know, they're not as big and bad as they thought they were when they were committing the crimes. And it's trying to get that. And that's what I was meeting with my staff this morning. Are y'all familiar with the DARE program?
The DARE program?
The DARE program is for fifth graders, and it's to teach them about drugs.
I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
So that's great for fifth grade. What I'm trying to do is figure out what to do with the middle schoolers, because I really think that's where you're at the crossroads. That's when your body is changing, your emotion. You're going through a lot of different emotions and stuff, and that's where you're starting to lose them. In fifth grade, there's a program, but there's nothing for the middle schoolers. Wow. And that's where we're trying to figure out what can we do to keep them on the right path and make them realize the decisions you're making could affect you for the rest of your life.
Like, does Louisiana have like a scale program, Scale Straight, I believe it's called? Because the show you be seeing on TV about taking young kids who's being bad on TV. Does Louisiana has a
we're tossing around some ideas this morning, trying to come up with some type of program that's fun for them. You don't want it where it's not engaging because if you have 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, you need it to be fun, just not lecturing to them. So we're trying to come up with some ideas, and hopefully when y'all have me back on, I'll be able to say what we did.
Yeah, to me that makes a lot of sense, because when you think like in middle school, that's when you have your rebel phase. Like
you're going through a lot.
You start thinking like you a man, you can't wait to grow up.
You're tough. You're big. Yes. I got some hair under my arms now, so I'm bad. You're not as bad as you think you are, but you're making decisions that could affect you the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's crazy, because I'm going through the same thing with my son right now. He's 13 years old, and he's thinking like, is this badass dude right now? So I can imagine. Yeah, I think that's where the focus I'm thinking should be, in that sense, because kids like this can make irrational decisions.
Sure.
And they can cost them, for the rest of their life. And
sure.
They meet you in the system, it's hard to come out of the system.
Right. That's right. Yeah, I don't want you in the system. That's what, I know DAs get a bad name sometimes, but I don't want you. I don't want you to come back. I don't want recidivism.
That's which kind of we go back to what I asked earlier. But while you're doing your job, it always feels like you do want me in the system, if that makes sense. Because of course they don't know what happened behind the closed door, what decision you have to make to be like, okay, this dude is actually a bad guy. Like he needs to.
So when you're arrested, I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at the facts and the evidence of that case, but I'm also looking at your criminal history. Is this the first time you've been arrested, or is this the 9th time you've been arrested? What were you sentenced before on those, or were you given a break? Did you come in saying, hey, I'll change my life if you just give me one more shot? And you've had 3 or 4 shots and you haven't. So we're evaluating everything and trying to figure out what's best for, our community. I want to live in a safe community. I want my family to be raised in a safe community. So.
But okay, let me see it in a scenario when you have somebody that keep doing, but let's say the things they doing is not really bad. Let's say like, but for how long can you send them to jail for, like, if this is the 10th time? What can you do to you can't keep them away just because, I'm just saying, like, they didn't do like something major, usually life in prison, but how you deal with a situation like this, but this guy is not quitting by doing the same thing, but it's not super big, but for how long can you put him in jail to help the
judge determines the sentence.
Okay.
So the judge is, we make recommendations, but the judge actually determines the sentence. So the jury determines if they're guilty or not guilty, and then the judge sentences them. The judge is going to hear from us. All right, Mr. Dwight, tell me about his criminal history. Tell me how, I want to hear from the victims. So the judge will actually look at his criminal history, look at everything, and then he'll want to hear from the victims. So we'll have the victims stand up and say, hey, this is how it's affected me. This is why I had to go through counseling for 2 years. I lost this much money. I did this. This is how this person affected my life. And then the judge takes all that into consideration and then sentences him.
But and
each judge is different. You have a judge, we're here in Iowa, a judge from Iowa is elected and represents this district. And then we have a judge from Sulphur that's elected who's going to look at the facts differently. So this one may throw the book at you. This one may give you a second chance.
So it depends on the judge, really. But even it doesn't matter what you do. It depends on the judge. You get to decide the final sentencing. Is that what you're saying?
Now we have 6 judges in the what I call the general jurisdiction, and then I have 3 in the juvenile.
So if you feel like the judge wasn't fair about the case that you presented, there is anything you can do about it?
Not me.
Okay.
No, but if I lose, I lose.
Okay.
If they lose, they can go up and appeal it. But if I lose, I just lose. I can't try them again for that case.
Oh, that's interesting.
But I mean, I said, okay, I want to put this as a civilian. So let's say you go.
I don't want to lose though. My goal is not to lose.
I guess so. I said, this is like the government. So if like, do you feel like, because as a civilian, you feel like, man, if you're going against the government and you lose, then they lose, you put a target on your back. Is that a true statement?
No.
Okay.
Not for me. We have a very good law enforcement and community. It's one that I feel like we have trust here in Southwest Louisiana. You see some bad apples around the country, around the state. Here, our district attorney and our sheriff get along. The police chiefs and the sheriffs get along because we don't put up with those bad apples. You'll watch Sheriff Mancuso had to do it multiple times. Sheriff Guillory's had to do it where he's had to arrest his own deputies. That's hard to do. When they're part of you, they're wearing your badge and you have to arrest them. My first case that we tried under my administration was against a former sheriff's deputy. He was molesting his children.
Oof.
And that was right out the gate. That was our first jury trial, us prosecuting a former Calcasieu Parish sheriff's deputy.
I mean, as you said, as your first case, how do you approach it? Like, at the job,
So, I didn't care that he was a former sheriff's deputy. He molested his own children.
That's a big one for me.
That doesn't matter to me. He's a criminal, and when you do things to kids, that's the worst of the worst.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one for me that's always ticked me. I think I just can't make no sense whatsoever to me. If there's something that would make me so mad, it'd be a case like this because I feel like I don't think I was just trying to.
So with kids, involving kids, raping kids, molesting kids, we don't make offers on those cases. I've told my prosecutors we're trying those cases because I don't think, that is the worst of the worst. A grandfather molesting his mentally challenged grandson. I don't think you should be on the streets. I think you should be incarcerated for the rest of your life.
I agree with you.
But as you're saying, do you find yourself sometimes, like I guess you may say, taking certain cases more personal, like something like that?
So that's what bothers me. I guess I give kind of instructions to my team. But that draws at everybody, like y'all.
Yes.
That's just something.
As long as you got kids,
if you have kids, that's gonna hit home,
Yes.
absolutely. Because if you got kids and you love your kids, you want the best, the absolute best for them. And then that love that you got in your heart for your kids, and then you see somebody else over there doing the complete opposite, and that don't even make no rational sense whatsoever.
So the little girl in that first case I was talking about, the little girl that was the victim, she had to testify. And we had a little teddy bear for her to testify. When she got off the stand, she ran up in front of the jury, ran up to my prosecutor and gave him a big hug and said, "Thank you." And then walked off. That was the last time she saw her dad. But she had to confront him and tell her story and what happened. It wasn't a dry in the courtroom.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
So it was moving. If you ask my prosecutor about that, he will always remember that little girl getting off the stand and rubbing up and thanking him,
Yeah, because
she was the hero. She's the one that had to get up and confront her dad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a big one too. That's like because sometimes and stuff like this can happen, and people might don't believe the kids if this is happening. And for you to have the courage, you can. It's your dad. You can't put fear in you and stuff like this. Yeah, that's I hate. I don't know. As a parent,
Sure.
I hate those things.
Yeah.
Trust me. I think you're supposed to go to jail for the rest of your life.
So those are
I
easy.
think that's fair. I think that's fair.
I say easy. Those are easy to make that decision. When I was talking about the gatekeeper, that one's an easy check the box.
So you'll be like, oh yeah, this guy, I'll make sure he'll never see the light of day again.
It's not somebody that has a drug problem, that's committing some thefts, and he's really feeding his family. And no, this guy did something that he doesn't need to be walking the streets.
But question is, because you were saying that at first you worked under Sheriff Mancuso, now you're currently working with Sheriff Guillory.
Mhm.
But like, what does the DA office do to make sure that, they stay, like they work effectively with everybody within the community?
So we do trainings. We have kind of quarterly trainings where we offer trainings to law enforcement. So we come in and we'll have it either on the east side of the river or the west side of the river. So we have the small municipalities, the sheriff's office, whoever wants to come in, and we'll talk to them about new case laws, about searches and seizure, about how to write reports, just trying to help them do their job better. Hey, this is what we'll have mock trials where I'm trying to get some of my younger prosecutors ready for their first trial, but I'm also trying to get some of those law enforcement officers ready to testify. So we put them on the stand, we'll take a real case and we'll have the law enforcement officer, say what he saw, if it was a drug stop and he was having to search the vehicle. We'll talk about that. And my experienced lawyers on my side will act like the defense team. And they'll jump up and throw stuff at them and do, really pepper them with questions because that's what's going to happen in court. So we want them to be ready I don't want their first time testifying to be in front of a real jury. So we have a mock jury over there. I have a mock judge, and we do a whole mock trial on training everyone. Law enforcement, our office, everybody.
But also as the DA, a question I got for you is like, how do you handle cases that's like get a lot of public attention, like the one that happened at Walmart? As you said, you remember that day vividly. And I'm sure one of those cases is it's one of them where everybody at home is playing judge, jury, and executioner about it. How do you approach those type of those type of things that got like a lot of eyes on them?
So I really try to treat all my cases the same. I try to give them all the same amount of attention. If KPLC is calling or the media is calling, we flag it. Just so I want to know, if I think it's a high profile case, I want to be informed because we have so many cases. We may have 10,000 cases when you think of every drug case, simple battery from misdemeanors all the way up to murder. We have a lot of cases. But if it's something that's in the media, I can't know every case. Like if you call up and say, hey, John Doe, what happened to him? And I don't know. But I do know certain high profile cases where I want to be informed. That way, if I'm out in the public and the public asks about it, I want to be informed. The lady that dropped her kid off at the Welcome Center over in Vinton, that's kind of a high profile case where she dropped her kid off in the pond and the other one was found crawling across the interstate. People ask me about that. I want to know what's going on with that case. The Walmart case, I needed to know what was going on with that case. So they know we have a weekly staff meeting with my staff where they brief me on anything that's happened this past week, what's coming up the next week. Always know what cases are being tried. Because we could have 4 or 5 jury trials going on at one time. I need to know everything. And I try to go into every courtroom and kind of sit there, let the jury see me, and give my input on jury selection and kind of how the case is going.
I'm wondering, because you got a high-profile job in a sense, because most regular people, I guess they go home, hey, honey, how's work today? Kind of conversation happen. Does that happen in your household as well?
So I don't watch CSI when I go home. I don't watch Dateline. My wife loves to watch all that, so I do that all day. I want to watch The Price is Right, Wheel of Fortune, and that kind of stuff because I don't deal. But she's a school teacher, so when we get home, she wants to tell me all about her day, and by the time she tells me about it, I don't have time to tell her.
Smart man.
No, I try to departmentalize. When I go home, I don't want to talk about the day. I want to unwind. I want to know how my kids did at school. I want to, but I try not to watch CSI movies and Dateline because that's not real life. That's not what. And look, we have to tell the jury that. Look, if y'all watch CSI, that's not how it works. You're not going to have the killer within 30 minutes of this show. You're not going to have, the evidence ain't going to come running in from the back of the courtroom. That stuff just doesn't happen in real life. So I don't like to watch it.
Oh, really? I thought maybe you'd be watching it, I guess, in a sense, practice.
So like on the
so like
100%, how many percent on the Dateline at CSI?
So Datelines are real cases, but the CSI stuff, that's Hollywood, and I used to do tours when I was general counsel for the sheriff. I'd bring kids. I was partner in ed at a middle school. I'd bring them to the jail And the jailer would always ask, what's the number one show everybody wants to watch while they're in jail? They would pick The Price is Right or, this or that. They wanted to watch Cops. So everybody that's in jail wanted to watch Cops because they wanted to figure out, they should have done this. They should have got, those idiots. So that's what, in jail, that's what their number one show is, Cops.
Man, that is interesting.
What is your stance on criminal justice and any initiative that you're working on right now?
Like the criminal justice reform?
Yeah.
So when I was in the legislature, that's when we passed criminal justice reform. And, we were the number one incarceration state, I guess, in the country. And what we did in the legislature, we tried to take the nonviolent crimes and try to figure out better ways and reinvest the money into rehab facilities and into the rehab side of it. Some of that has been undone, but crime's going to keep happening, and we've got to figure that out. I don't know what the answer is.
So the thing is, earlier you were talking and you were saying like whenever you approaching a juvenile case, you approach it differently compared to a full-blown adult. Mm-hmm. What advice would you have for young people, let's just say that have for a few offenses already and they're like 12 or 13, to where you can, I guess, at least trying to warn them to stay away from the system?
So they're not thinking long-term. They're not. And we have counselors that I got a grant from the school board, but we partner with the school board, where I employ 4 counselors that go into the elementary schools and try to help those kids that need the extra counseling on top of what the school offers. And, we did a demographics test on kind of who was participating in this. And most of the kids that we're dealing with have one or both parents that they've seen do drugs. One or both parents are incarcerated, and most of them are being raised by their grandparents. So that's kind of what we're seeing is, they don't have that structure at home to help them that it sounds like y'all have with your kids and stuff, because y'all know what your kids are doing. You're involved with your children. They don't always have that. So the people on the streets are coming in and getting these children to help them commit crimes, and they're recruiting these middle schoolers and high schoolers because the juvenile record doesn't stay with you into your adulthood. So we're seeing these criminals recruit these younger kids to commit crimes, and that's why we're trying to go after the drug distributors. I don't want to go after the drug user. I want to go after the actual distributor.
So pretty much cut the head of the snake in a sense. Yeah.
So what initiative you put in place, to have trust between the DA's office and the community?
So we try to do a lot of different things. I have I have 4 community liaisons that go out, and I have one that just goes out and meets with businesses and wants to know what issues they're having, how we can help them. Is someone writing worthless checks to them that they need help with, stuff like that. I have one that goes out to just the seniors. He goes and attends bingos, and he goes to nursing homes. And, if someone's being taken advantage of by a nursing home worker or someone that's in their home that's manipulating them and taking advantage of them, you see that a lot where they are the victims of fraud, where either a worker that's working for them has them change their will and leaves everything to them, or you see all these people where they're victims of these calls where they, Prince Harry is going to give you $1 million if you do this, or go get me a gift card. If you go get me a gift card, we're not going to come arrest you for jury duty. So we're trying to get out in front of that and tell them what to look for, what not to look for. We go into the schools as much as we can and try to educate them and just try to show them that we're not the bad guy, that we are the good guy. We wear the white hat.
It's funny though, because you say that, because I remember I had somebody texted me, say, man, you just won $500,000. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, cool. It's like, man, I'm on my way right now to mail you the check. But for me to mail you the check, you need to give me $75,000. I said, okay, subtract that from the $500,000.
So I had one of my best friends, you got this thing where they do it every so many months where they say you didn't attend jury duty and I'm deputy so-and-so. And they use a real name and we're going to come arrest you if you don't bring me the money. And I had one of my best friends, he was getting money out of the ATM and he said, hey, is this legit? I said, how much did he tell you to bring? He said, $2,500. I said, all right, get the money and bring it to me. He said, why? I said, well, if you're going to give it away to somebody, you might as well give it to me. And he's like, oh, come on, man. I said, that's a scam. But I mean, here's a person that's very educated. Like they're very good because they use a real deputy's name. They tell you where they are and they start yelling at you and pressuring you. Hey, we're going to send somebody down there to arrest you if you don't bring us the money.
You know what? You know which one I think that was crazy when I found out it was a scam? The one they be calling saying, hey, we like deputy such and such, we working for the police department and we want you to give donation.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to think this shit was real.
Mm-hmm. I get those calls all the time. I get those calls all the time.
It's crazy for me because I really believe that.
Well, you're gonna give me your cell phone number. I'm gonna call.
But I mean, it was the way he was saying, like, hey, if you want to help the
they're good, and they're
really good.
So you caught on, but so many don't, and so many of the seniors are happy that someone's calling them, and they have the money, they have the means, and they are being the victim of a lot of this fraud.
I never give money though, but I always feel bad every time I hang up. I ain't gonna lie. But then to find out years later there was a scam.
I just knew it was a scam because anybody that you don't know, we never met, that's just gonna call you over the phone and request
If it's too good to be true,
it's probably not true.
But there was like that is that I remember it was I don't know if that was true though. Somebody said they tell them they won a prize, they went downtown and they get arrested. Is that a true thing? It's like basically like it's just like
the baiting.
Yes,
they've never done that here. I've seen it.
I've seen that too. Yeah. To where I think I saw one when they said they won some ticket to
like you have an arrest for the ones that walk with warrants. Hey, you won this part of the Powerball or something, or you won a free TV. Come down and get it. And when they walk through the doors, but they haven't done that here.
That's something baiting, I guess you may say that should be taken into consideration. Instead of you chasing criminals all around the world, you can just get them to come to you.
So in Florida, we were at the beach last year, and they had a big wheel on the news, and they'd spin the wheel. If you had a warrant out, it would click around, and it'd click, 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 and when it land on, oh, there's Stephen Dwight, and they show the picture real big of the criminal, and like, hey, here's what he's wanted for, here's everything. Well, you didn't want to be on the wheel of shame, basically. So, they would do it. And everybody's like, oh man, everybody's trying to turn themselves in because they don't want to be on the wheel at 6:30.
Is that legal?
That's it. They did it in Florida. They call it like the wheel of shame or something.
Man.
Oh, that's crazy.
But we kind of talked about that earlier, cases involving a police officer, but that one was different. Like that one was just really a gruesome, heinous crime.
Sure.
But let's just say if it's just another crime where let's just say a cop is, I don't know, stealing money in a sense. So like, how do you guys throw the book at them in a sense? Because y'all felt like they should know better, or how do you guys approach it?
Yeah. No, if a police officer is committed a crime, I don't want that to come back on me because if you're a police officer and you commit a crime, I don't want you testifying later down the road on any of my cases because I have to now tell the jury, hey, he lied during this or he did this. So I don't want you. So, you're almost, in my eyes, held to a higher standard. It's bad for the officers, but they know better. Look, they're not. We have great officers here in Calcasieu Parish. That's not happening. There are a couple of bad apples out there where it has happened, but overall, we have a great group of law enforcement that I'd put up against anybody in the state.
Yeah, to me,
I trust them. I mean, they're good people.
I talked to Sheriff Gillory about that because I feel like to me, when a police officer commit a crime somewhere and then they can leave the city they was on and then go to a different city and then they get hired on, and to me, I think that was like crazy because it's not supposed to be happening because you a bad apple, so you're gonna.
And they get upset about it, because they're giving them a bad name. So the other sheriff's deputies, if it's a sheriff's deputy, he's given all the sheriff's department a bad name. So they don't want him to be part of that either. They're holding them accountable, and we have good leadership here in Calcasieu where they don't They don't put up with that. So I'm proud of our law enforcement community here in Calcasieu Parish.
So basically, you've pretty much been in office. This is your first term, right?
Yeah, 4 years.
4 years. So 4 years, you got basically 2 years left. So what would you say is the most rewarding part of being a DA?
Rewarding, probably the specialty court graduations. Specialty court, we have a DWI court, a drug court, a behavioral health court, a veterans court. And these are people that have committed crimes, but like I was talking about earlier, it's the underlying problem that we're not addressing. So when they have a drug court, for example, they've been arrested numerous times for whatever, for theft, for possession of CDS2, and you kind of see it. And what they have is really, they have a drug problem. They don't have a criminal problem. They have a drug problem. So they'll plead guilty to the charges and then go into this court. And they get additional help from services provided, if it's counseling, if it's rehab, the judges are part of it, my office is part of it, counselors are part of it, the public defender's office is part of it. And it's where everybody kind of comes and tries to get that person back on track. But when you go to a specialty court graduation, it's usually about 18 months that they're in this program. When you go to that graduation, the graduate gets up and talks, but then a family member talks. So it's this little 10-year-old girl that's up there thanking us because she got her dad back, and she's crying, he's crying, the judges are crying. That's rewarding because you feel like I helped this person. I didn't only help this person, I helped his entire family. So we helped our community because now he's not reoffending. Like she said, she got her daddy back, and he's now being a productive member of our community. He can now go get a job, hold the job, because he needed the means and the tools to succeed, and it just took him a little while to get there. So that is rewarding, seeing that we didn't have to send him away for years. We got him back on track. But if he reoffends, he's going to be in trouble. Because then he's going away for a long time.
I'm also assuming that your office also deal with DUI and DWIs also. Mm-hmm. So do you guys have the same approach for, let's just say, first-time offenders? Or
first-time offenders, most of the time, is a mistake. Now if you blow a .32,
yeah, that's not a mistake.
That's you have a problem, and you chose to get behind the wheel. So I get mad at that because I feel like, hey, my family could have been on the road.
Yeah.
You weren't a just barely over the legal limit. You had that one extra margarita at Casa Manana type of thing. You have a problem, and you chose to get behind the wheel and it's not your life you put in danger, but it's everybody else on the road that you put in danger. And if you would have struck my kids or my wife,
Yeah, I can see how you're looking at it that way. So therefore,
But I understand people make mistakes.
But
good people.
So therefore, you basically kind of look at it depends on how much liquor there in the system.
I look at everything. Did you get out and you realized you made a mistake and you were courteous to the officer, you're apologetic, stuff like that? Or did you get out, bottle of whiskey falls out, you spit in the deputy's face, I see. Because it's all being recorded. It's all on body cam.
I don't know if you ever seen, don't mean to interrupt you, seen that video that kind of went viral not too long ago. No, probably that was a while ago. This man who got pulled over and they gave him the breathalyzer so he can blow on it and he started drinking it. I don't know if y'all saw that. And then that was like comic. Even the cop just busted out laughing. That's how drunk he was.
Yeah.
I mean, would you approach a case like that and, I guess, seeing the comical sense of it or just...
Both. I'd find it comical that he did it, but then you're not going to get a lot of help either because you are, sticking your nose up to the criminal justice system. You think it's a joke. It's not a joke. It's serious because, look, I have Mothers Against Drunk Drivers that come in and audit my files. And if I do offer somebody some assistance, they want to know why. Because they lost, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers are moms that lost a loved one to drunk driving. So they lost their son or their daughter. So they want to know, why did you give this person a second chance? And they're not opposed to it. They just want to know. But if there's a fourth offense DWI, like we prosecuted last week, they're sitting in the courtroom because they want to know if the judge is going to hold them accountable, if the jury's going to hold them accountable. Because on a fourth offense, you've had every opportunity, and you're going to kill somebody.
Yeah, they had a situation. I think maybe I want to say 2 years ago, where like before Christmas, I think it was 2 days before Christmas, where like the kids went to a party and a drunk driver killed. It was 3 kids, and they all got murdered on that.
It happened in Baton Rouge, I think. Was it in Baton?
I don't think it's about. I think somewhere around like. I don't even think it was that far. I don't
Ragley up north.
Yeah, it was somewhere around there. And then because I was reading it, and it was like the part that touched me is just like looking at the gifts that's under the Christmas tree, and then now there is no kids to. That's gotta be tough.
It's tough. Yes.
So I understand this side of it because you don't want the guy that's drunk and driving, and then you're doing everything right on the road, and this guy come out of nowhere, and then take your life for your kids' life.
When we make offers, we have to take all that into consideration. I have victims assistance coordinators that are assigned, where if you are the victim of a crime, they are reaching out to you, and they are reaching out to the victim and saying, "Hey, what do you see as justice? What do you want? And how can we help you through this process?" So because what I found out when I took office, they were just finding out about the case right before we went to trial or after trial. So now we're reaching out to you right when we get the file. "Hey, I'm so-and-so from the DA's office. I'm here to help you. What questions do you have?" So we're trying to reach out to the victims because most of them don't have any interaction with the criminal justice system. If you have your lawnmower stolen, you have your lawnmower stolen. Now we're reaching out to you. "Hey, have you gotten your lawnmower back? How much did the lawnmower cost? How much do you want in restitution for the lawnmower?" Stuff like that. So we're actually reaching out to every victim of a crime and getting out ahead of it. So they're hearing more, like I was talking about earlier, it's just communication. We're trying to communicate more with the public and let them know we are here for you. We're here to work with you.
And that's something you started doing when you...
We expanded it. So they just had 2 victim assistance coordinators that were really just for the murder trials. Well, most of our cases are misdemeanors.
Sorry.
No, that's just so. I mean, if you're the victim, if you got punched in the face or you got hit with a beer bottle, you're hearing from our office as soon as we get the file. We send a letter out, and we want to know what your email address, what your phone number, what your medical bills. We have a whole little sheet that we send them with postage for them to send it back to us, so we can have all that in the file, so we can keep them abreast of what's happening with the file.
That's really cool.
So, have you ever had to prosecute, like, let's just say a close friend or a family member?
Not family member, because my family's perfect, according to them. No. Yeah, so I don't like to recuse. I can recuse. I've had some previous clients that I've had to prosecute. I've had some friends that I've had to prosecute. And, that's just what I see as part of my job. It sucks. Don't get me wrong. I've had some friends get mad at me because I didn't just toss it out. But if it would be a family member, I would send that out. I would send that to the Attorney General's office. So we can recuse to the Attorney General's office or to another district attorney.
Okay.
So I guess.
And if I'm prosecuting you, and then you're the victim of a crime, I would have to send one of those cases out because I can't have you be the defendant in one crime and the victim on another.
Okay.
So I would send one of those or both of those cases out.
So what has been the hardest decision you had to make since you become district attorney?
Seeking the death penalty for Stephen Vincent. He was the trooper that was killed. The person that killed him was Kevin Daigle, and we had to retry him. And whether or not, and I was the one that made the decision to seek the death penalty. That was a hard decision.
Oof. Yeah, that's a big one. I mean, but Louisiana doesn't have do they have a death penalty?
So he was a state trooper that was killed in the line of duty. And he was going up to offer him a ride home, and the guy had just murdered his roommate and was on his way to, we believe, murder his son. and he wrecked his car, and Stephen Vincent didn't know about the murder yet and was about to offer him a ride home. He shot him with a shotgun.
Yeah, I think I heard that. I think he shot the police officer with his own shotgun, right? I believe, right? Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
so that was hard. Just, it's easy to say you're pro death penalty or anti-death penalty, but when it comes to actually making the decision, it's a little harder when you are the one that has to make that decision. Because I had to put that widow up on the stand and make her relive that. That was very hard. Did I make the right decision to have to put her through this if I don't get the death penalty? You had to relive all this. And that one was the hardest decision I've had.
But did y'all get the death penalty?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But the death penalty thing, sometimes it go, how long the person...
So it's appealed now. It's in the appellate stages now.
Okay. So, but how long, like, when you do the death penalty, how long the person got to live before? Is there amount of time they got to stay?
It just depends on how long the appeal takes.
Okay.
So they'll appeal it all the way to the Supreme Court, then they'll come over on the federal side and appeal it up on the federal side too.
So it can be a while before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you pretty much grew up to do basically what you're currently doing now. Like ever since you were young, you know that's what you wanted to do. So which means you know this justice system better than most. But let's just say if there's one thing you could change about the justice system, what would it be?
Man, I've never thought about that.
There's got to be something you thought would be better that way, in a sense.
I don't know. Because I've never been on the side like the judges and seen their role. So I don't know I'm sure they struggle with, there's mandatory minimums and mandatory maximums. So, you like this girl that we just prosecuted for a fourth offense DWI, the minimum is 10 years, and the maximum is 30 years. So that's a pretty wide range.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they would like shorter windows. I don't know. I think it works. We're seeing too many reoffenders. So just throwing them in jail doesn't always work, but I don't know what else to do. If we offer the rehab, we offer this, and they don't want it, and they just keep reoffending, I don't know what the answer is.
But don't you feel like, in a sense, like the way jail or prison is, the way they treat people, because when you got people go to jail and you treat them like animals, when they come out, you can expect them to be these wonderful people.
They've had opportunities. So if you get arrested for a first offense felony, odds are you're not going to get to jail. You're probably going to get probation. It's just what our judges seem to do. So for you to go to jail, you have committed a lot of crimes or you committed a very serious crime. So the people that are there have had the opportunities to get their life back on track and haven't.
So, but when they send them there now, it's just like, in a sense, give up on them, in a sense?
No, because they have the parole process. So even though you're sentenced to 30 years, you may be eligible for parole sooner than that. So you can go and say, there are some people that continue to commit crimes while they're incarcerated. They continue to fight, stab, get drugs into the facility, all that. Then you have others that go get their high school diploma. They go into ministry. They go into helping other inmates rehabilitate themselves. So after you've done, let's say 60% of your sentence, now they're coming up, hey, I've never been in a fight. I got my GED. I've volunteered this many hours. I do this, I do that. I realize I made a mistake and I can be someone better in society. They've reached out to the victims, apologized to them, and shown them their life has changed. That person may need a second chance. Or the other guy who gets, the same charge, but has stabbed 2 people while he's been incarcerated, continues to get in fights, getting drugs brought into the system. He's not learning his lesson. And when he gets out, he's just going to do it in our community.
Yeah, makes sense. But let's just say, what advice would you give any young, aspiring lawyers coming up in the system? Like somebody once upon a time that was you. that wanted to be a DA, wanted to be a lawyer, wanted to be a judge, and you knowing as much as you know about the justice system, what advice would you give
So
them?
I was speaking for the DA. I was recruiting a girl that did not want to be a DA. And I said, look, I'd like for you to come work for our office. And she said, no, I couldn't do that. I said, why not? And she said, because I can't do what you do. I want to try to help people. I said, well, what makes you think I don't help people? So she said, well, you're a district attorney. You're the one that puts them behind the bars. So when I told her, all right, well, let me tell you this. You're the person that decides whether you move forward with the prosecution. You're the person that decides, does this person need to go to rehab? Does this person need a second chance? Or does he need to be prosecuted? So you are actually the person, if you're trying to help somebody, your role as an assistant DA, you're in that position to help someone that needs the help. You're the only person in that position. No one else is in that position. So we're giving a lot of power that I don't want it to ever be abused, because I don't want to be that one that, hey, we just throw everybody in jail and throw away the key. Because that's not what our job is. We have to be that gatekeeper and figure out what's a good case, what's not a good case. Do you have a law enforcement officer that did something bad? Do you have someone that did something really bad to someone? We're juggling all that. I said, you're that gatekeeper. She came back and she worked for me. She worked for me for 2.5 years.
And I'm glad you actually kind of said that in the way that you actually worded it. But have you ever made a decision towards something and then maybe later on you felt like perhaps that wasn't like the right decision in that moment?
So I've had egg on my face where I gave somebody a second chance and they reoffended. And they told me they would never, I've got you have my attention and you'll never see me again. And then I find out they reoffend. I've had some friends get arrested and I've had to prosecute them or hold them accountable. Yeah.
It's a tough one because I forgot his name. He was in prison for life. And then I think he killed somebody way back in the days. I think he spent like 30-some years in prison. And he was doing everything right, like you said, rehabilitation, reading books, do like ministry and everything. He came out, even got, like he was on TV. He had go to Joe Rogan and everything. 2 days later after he left Joe Rogan, he murdered somebody, trying to cut him, put him in the bags and everything. I'm talking about heinous crime. And this dude, like, when he was talking, you probably think like, man, they did him wrong, like being put him in jail, literally. And then 2 days later, this is like a tough one because when you like put your hands, you put your hands out for somebody, trying to help them, and then to find out they do something like this, it's gotta be tough.
Yeah, I've never second guessed prosecuting someone. We've never prosecuted a truly innocent person. If we go to court, there's 100%, I'm 100% sure this person committed that crime, either with video, DNA, something like that. Strong evidence. We don't just we haven't gone into court and rolled the dice, hey, let's see what happens. So I feel confident that we've always sent guilty people. I don't know that that's always happened when you look back 30, 40, 50 years ago. I don't know if that always happened. But with our system set up today, I'm confident that the people we've prosecuted committed the crimes.
I want to say this because...
So it'd be the people, so I'm not second guessing that. I'm second guessing giving someone a second chance, and then I got egg in my face because I trusted them and I believed them, and shame on me for doing it.
But is that no, because that happened, don't you think like the next... It's good? Yeah, don't you feel like when that happened, that you feel like that can, if somebody else come and try to plead the same thing to you, it's not gonna make you feel like I don't want to trust you enough?
I hope I don't do that. I mean,
Okay.
I want to believe I would.
But it's human though, in a sense.
Yeah, it's human, but I hope I don't do that. But I understand that's natural.
Yes, because like it's really like now I really trust that person, but maybe that the next person, maybe that's the person that was gonna do the right thing, but then because of what the
what previously happened where you feel like, okay, I'm not gonna get played twice.
Mhm.
The first time I trusted this person, they did me dirty. So the next person that comes in, even though they might be legitimate about changing their life or turning it around, but that's what I'm saying. I think that's human. You're gonna be like, well, yeah, I trusted this guy. He did me this way. So no, I mean, it's human. That's the way I'm looking at it.
But that's very difficult to navigate, I would think.
Yeah, now that person that caused egg in my face, he's not going to get a second chance. You know, I gave you your second chance. Shame on you. Now I'm going to throw the book at you. But if you come in right after him with the same fact scenario, I hope I don't hold him against you.
But that's what I'm saying. That's very hard to navigate.
No, that's why I say I hope I don't do that.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's natural, but I would hope I wouldn't do that. I'd be disappointed myself if I did.
Well, you know what? Because I want to say this. You know, we're from Haiti, so we never know racism.
So who's the king?
Both of us.
All right.
As kings. As you can tell, plural, kings, but that's at the end, so it's both of us.
So let me ask you this. Because being from Haiti, we don't know racism for it's a black country. But when you come here, even though sometimes we don't want to indulge too much, because sometimes even the thing is we feel like people say it's racist, but we feel like, I don't think so, you know. But we can't really, we only base that based on because we're from a country that we don't know that much.
Mm-hmm.
But from people that's like, since being here, you can see how black people react to law, feel like they're always
Against them.
them. How you?
And look, at one point, it was.
Okay.
You know, so I'm not, you know, when you look 40 and 50 years ago, the people that grew up during that time, it's different than we are now. So I understand why they hold that.
Yeah, because I wanted to, so in your point of view, because I know it's 40, 50 years ago, but those ideas is still lingering around. So what do you do as a district attorney to feel like, make those people in those communities feel like, hey, this is not 50 years ago. We completely different. We treating people.
So I try to be in the community, and I try to go. That's why, like y'all having me on, you know, I don't turn down anyone that wants to talk to me or to listen to me or whatever, because I want to be accessible. I want to get in the community because I want the community to trust me. We try to treat everybody like you would treat your own family. You know, I don't want anybody prosecuting this person because of his, you know, color of skin or his sexual origin or his religion, anything like that. I don't want to know. You know, when you're arrested, it doesn't come in. We don't know what color you are, what religion you are. We just say you committed this battery on this person on this date on this time. So that's how I want it to be, where you're just judging the facts. You're not judging anything else.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's really good. So I wanted to ask you this question. When all said and done, what you want your legacy to be?
That I left it better than I found it. I know that's what everybody says, but that's what you want. You know, there was some things that I needed to change when I came into office, but I feel like I have a very good office. You know, I would put my office up against anyone in the state, almost anyone in the country. So 2 of my guys right now are actually in a parish on the east side of the state because they don't have anybody that can prosecute a murder over there. So they asked me, could your guys come and help? So what they did, and when most people are taking their vacation to go to the beach or to go snow skiing, these guys are taking their vacation to go put this criminal away because he shot a police officer over there. That's what they're using their vacation time to be, because they want justice, you know, and they want a safer community. So that's what they have gone over there, and they're using vacation time to help them. So I think we have the best office in the state. I have a young group of attorneys. You know, on that death penalty case, I had 4 attorneys assigned to that case. 3 of them were under 40, trying a death penalty case against the best in the state.
Wow, nice.
And they ran circles around them because I believe we have the best here in Calcasieu Parish, and we're lucky.
So where you get those new lawyers from? Like, it's just like you get them from intern or?
We try to get them interning. So we offer internships with McNeese and Sewella, where they can come work for us and actually get college credit through McNeese and Sewella while they get paid and they get college credit. So I'm trying to get in early with them and then encourage them to go to law school. And then when they go to law school, if they want to come back and work during the summer, we kind of roll them into more experienced roles. And when they get out of law school, I want them to come back and work for me.
That's really
So
cool.
basically, you kind of have a chance to groom them the
That's
way.
what I'm trying. Yeah.
Okay.
So like one guy wanted to be, one of my interns wanted to be a federal prosecutor. And I said, why? He said, because I want to put the bad ones away, the worst of the worst. I said, come sit in my desk and come see what I have on my desk. And I showed him, the federal prosecutors are doing white collar crime and doing this. You want to put the worst of the worst away? This is where you need to be. Another girl said, I want to be a public defender. Why? Why don't you come work for me this summer and see what we do? Now she's applying with me.
But did you think, I don't know, being the fact that she want to be a public defender,
Well, I think
it's kind of like you're giving the game away in a
Well,
sense?
and I say that, I don't want to train you so you can go over there and beat me. But, I want the right person to do it for the right reasons. And I want good people to work for me. So when they come and intern, it's like, hey, maybe we aren't the bad guys. Maybe we are the good guys wearing the white hats. And they see that. Like, if it's a bad case, we reject it. We don't want bad cases. We want good cases. So if it's a bad case, hey, I don't want to bring it to court. I don't want to be on TV saying Dwight lost another case. I want to be on there saying, I'm sending this guy away because he was a menace to our society.
But as a person,
And if we screw up, we screw up.
But as the DA, basically that's your job. You serve, you stand in the way of justice. Like as you said, you're the gatekeeper. Have you ever sometimes feared the fact some of those cases might put your and your loved one life in danger? To like somebody might want to take revenge against you because they felt like you're the reason their father, their husband, or whomever is in jail.
Yeah. So we have threats that law enforcement kind of takes it for us. If we've had some high profile cases where we've had to have extra security around the courthouse, around our office, stuff like that. But law enforcement's very good about keeping our office secure and keeping the courtroom secure and making sure we're safe when we go to lunch or anything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I found out I had a threat one day when I was sitting at Seafood Palace eating gumbo, and some deputies walk in and sit next to us, and I'm trying to buy them lunch. They said, no, we're just here because there's a threat against the DA's office. I said, well, wasn't even aware of it.
I mean, how does that make you feel? Like as a regular person to know, hey, somebody.
Most
really
of them it's someone dealing with mental health. Most of it is dealing with mental health. I'm going to bomb the courthouse. I'm going to kill the DA. He's not. He thinks at the same time he's Spider-Man. So I mean, but that's what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with a lot of people, and that's who's committing a lot of crime. We're dealing with mental health that people's not thinking rationally. And when he makes that comment, all right, well, now he's being charged with threatening an elected official, and it's.
But how would you as a DA approach a case like that? Like, as you can clearly see, okay.
So I'm the victim, so I have to send that to the AG's office.
Oh,
but no, when it's mental health, we try to figure that out. And it's like, it's not the best scenario sending him to jail. That's not going to help him. But you also can't commit crimes and use that as a defense. So there are facilities out there that are state-run that can take people like that. Because it doesn't give you a free ride to go commit someone and then say, I'm Spider-Man.
But like as you said, you were like 4 years deep into your 6-year term. So you said about 2025, you're thinking of running again also. So what would you want people to know, I guess, about you, about the work you've done and the work you're going to be doing in the near future if you get reelected?
So I want people to feel safe. I want people to be proud of our office, and I feel that they are. I feel that and that's the message I'm trying to get out. That I feel we are the best office in the state. When other DAs are calling, asking, how did you handle this? At one point, not now, but I was the youngest DA. When you have a DA that's been doing it for 25 years and he's calling me, who's been doing it for 2 years, hey, how are you handling this? What are you doing? That's a compliment to me in my office because they're recognizing on the other side of the state, hey, Calcasieu is doing something right over there. So, I like where we are. I like where our office is. I like where our entire law enforcement community is with our relationships between me and the sheriff and the police chief. None of us have egos. We're all just want to work together, whether it be Lake Charles Police, Sheriff's Office, DA's Office, Benton Police, Highway Police. We're all on the same page. And they don't have that everywhere in the state. And we're very blessed here in Calcasieu to have that.
All right.
Man, that was a very interesting conversation. I really enjoyed it because I feel like we cover a lot of things.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
No, for sure. Like I said, like he was saying, to add up, to piggyback on what he said, there was like an interesting conversation, especially for somebody like me that is extremely ignorant in those matters. Like I said, never been to jail and don't ever go to. Actually, I hope after today I never see you again.
You're at least not on the top of my stack. I always tell everybody you don't want to be on the top.
But yeah, I hope after today unless it's in a public space, of course, yeah. But that was a genuine conversation. I've learned a lot talking to you. And like I said, thank you for stopping by. Hopefully
Absolutely.
the people that's going to be watching this are going to be able to learn as much as I've learned today. And, understand who you are as a person, what's your goals. As you said, you guys maybe are not as bad as people make it seem like you guys are, and get a better understanding of things. And as usual, like, follow, share, and subscribe. And comment. If there's anything you agree or disagree with, use the comment section for it. There you go.
Thank you. Look at my boy. I don't know for the